Hello, we've relocated several hundred kilometres south for stage 7 of the tour. This is Chateau Roux, or Chateau Raoul as it originally was, having been named after the 10th century castle built here by the rather wonderfully named Raoul the Large. Sounds like the perfect historical role for Gérard Depardieu, who's the town's other claim to fame, having been born here. In cycling terms, though, this isn't so much a chateau as a set of foundations, the ones on which Mark Cavendish is building perhaps the greatest sprinting career of all time. And today he's looking for Tour de France stage win number 17 on the same home straight where he got number 1.
Mark Cavendish is bursting out of the pack. He's had to make a run very early here. He's challenged by the sprinters. Look at the speed of Mark Cavendish here. As we get the shot, he's wiped out the champion. Mark Cavendish, the youngest British rider ever to get a stage win in the Tour de France.
You're not a sentimentalist, are you?
I am a sentimentalist, actually.
Go on then. I mean, describe that day, because the sun was out. That
was incredible, you know. Break went early on, and we controlled it. And we had the green jersey, we had the white jersey with Tommy and Kim, but we were one line even with those guys in it. It didn't matter what colour they had on. They were riding for me, kept it strung out the end.
Team Columbia have got hold of the Tour de France by the scruff of the racing shorts and have put all of the team on the front. It's all for Mark Cavendish right now.
We didn't catch Volcan until 100 metres to go, actually, in the sprint, so it was timed. Wasn't timed perfect, but we got it, and the guys led me out. Gerald Seelek took me from about 6th wheel with about 400 to go. 200, I could go a bit earlier, 250, 300 metres to go, because I could see Volcan. I used his slipstream to get the speed and passed him and won. I covered my head in disbelief. I won a stage of the Tour de France. It was incredible, you know. The first stage of the Tour for any rider is a massive thing, and to revisit that place will be special for me. I knew I could do it. I'd said in the press conference before the Tour, I want to win the stage here. The team had ridden with 9 guys there for me to do it, but still, like, when it hits you, when you cross the line, it can define any person's career, you know, and it probably just started.
Well, that was absolutely superb. He really is the fastest rider over 200 metres.
It's the first of 4 that year. I had no idea I'd be able to do 4 on one tour, you know, where, yeah, it's how it is. It's irrelevant. If I win 1 every year, I'm happy. But we'll try and win as many as possible. I'm incredibly lucky that I have such a strong team, such a committed team to me. Guys that will ride themselves on the ground for me, you know, and that's probably the biggest reason why I've won so many, you know. So my name's on the list of winning, but it's due to some incredible people around me who will commit day in, day out to put me in that position.
Well, today's couldn't be more of a sprinter stage, 218 kilometres from Le Mans to Chateau Roux, and flat all the way between them. One of only 2 open road stages on the race, in fact, with no categorised climbs at all, the other being the final day in Paris. The intermediate sprint is intriguingly placed, just 25 kilometres from the end, but it's the final sprint we're focusing on today, and the same, I suspect, goes for everyone else. Now, everyone in race terms was down to 192 at the start this morning. Vasil Kirienka of Movistar came in outside the time limit yesterday and got eliminated. There's the top of the yellow jersey classification. Tourusoft with Cadel Evans on his shoulder, 1 second back. Frank Schleck 3rd, David Miller 4th, Andreas Klurden 5th, and a Sky 6-7-8 of Brad Wiggins, Geraint Thomas and Edvald Boasson-Hagen, yesterday's stage winner. They're all within 12 seconds, so is Andy Schleck, and Alberto Contador, the defending champion, is at 1:42. Now, back at the team car early in the stage, and you'll have to take our word for this since we can't see his face, was Edvald Boasson-Hagen, talking to Sean Yates about whether he should work for Ben Swift today or attempt a repeat of yesterday's stage win.
So do you really want to go for it, or are you happy leading him out? You want to really go for it, you're feeling super.
I'm feeling good, so I want.
Yes, you want.
Go for it.
Okay, okay. So, okay.
Did you say?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, okay. Yeah. No, I mean you're the best chance, aren't you? So, okay.
Now then, bad news after 90 kilometres for Quick-Step. We saw Tom Boonen struggling after a crash on stage 5, and he struggled on yesterday when some people thought he might abandon, but he has packed in today. And even worse for Quick-Step, Sylvain Chavanel, the French national champion and joint leader with Bonin, was back at the doctor's car being treated for his injuries from stage 5. Now, it seems Ben Swift has lost his status as Sky's man for the stage to the informed Boasson Hagen. He was also back at the team car for a briefing.
In that final 20k, it's a bang-on tailwind. So
Full-on tailwind?
Yeah, so after the spin, I mean, it's going to be hell for leather. 10k before, it's like big crosswind. You come through that sprint, it's going to be bang-on tailwind. They've got a motor for that sprint, and it's just going to continue all the way to the finish line.
So it's not crosswinds after
No, I mean, tailwind.
Crosswinds before?
Yes, the tailwind's even worse. I mean, because it's going to be full on for the sprint, isn't it? And it's just going to go. If there's a gap, they're just going to go. So you all got me in the first 20. I mean, not.
We're all together now anyway.
Zabi won't be there. Simon maybe. Yeah, Rigo. Yeah, maybe. But you and G and Brad and Fletcher. Okay.
Well, that's interesting because our information is that it's a crosswind. Either way, riding at the front will be the thing for everyone to do. Although, as ever, if everyone's at the front, it's no longer the front. Now, the day's breakaway had a couple of Française de Jeu riders in it, Gianni Meersman and Michael Delage, along with Yannick Talabardon of Sojasun and Pablo Erteson of Euskaltel. As we pick up racing, there are 40 kilometres to go and they have a lead of 3 minutes.
Thank you very much. I can hear these 4 riders saying to themselves, let's get out of that wind, which has been buffeting everybody this afternoon. And they're still, in fact, these guys are doing a pretty good job. They've stretched it up to the 3-minute mark. And here you can see that Pablo Urtasun has found his legs finally. He's been a professional with Euskaltel Euskadi for 3 years. Before that, Liberty Seguros. Looking at his elbows and look at his knee. One of the riders, or one of the many riders who have fallen so far in the Tour de France this year. This race has been marred by crashes. I put it down to the fact a lot of riders taking lots of risks to try and ride near the front end, the business end of the action in the peloton. As we can see, organisation now. HTC High Road have said, right, Katusha, you don't want to ride for your sprinter. You, Lampre, you don't want to ride for your sprinter. Well, we don't care, because we're going to do it, because we've got the fastest men in the world, and we will do the job at hand, because tomorrow you can all go ride at the front, because we're going to have a day off.
Well, that's what the case will be, as the countryside will change quite dramatically tomorrow as we climb a few little climbs. Second category hills included on the route tomorrow, and quite steep slopes as well. So we're going to see some good action tomorrow of a different sort. All of the names we were talking about before the race got underway as projected favourites must come out and make sure they don't lose time. 2:51, a slight reversal again as they start the chase back once more.
We're going to start to see some very high speeds now, because there's another crash. That's the race radio telling me it's a crash.
I'm hearing.
Yep.
I don't know whether our pictures are going to give us them, but there's a crash. But here it is.
Well, that.
Oh dear.
Coppel has gone down. Well, this was at the back. There's Sylvain Chavanel, and just having a quick look to see if any of the big leaders have been caught out. Well, I was just about to say the race is currently picking up a very strong cross tailwind, and that's going to be a reason for the main field to push the speeds up higher and above 50-55 kilometres an hour.
Right down. Bradley.
Wiggins has gone down, and he's involved in that crash somewhere. I can't see him on the ground there, but that is not too good for him. Boasson Hagen has gone down as well, and I'm picking this up from race radio, which is crackling in my ear. That's Wiggins in the middle, and he does not look very good at all, Wiggins. He's got a teammate alongside him, pushing off number 54 there. That's Tyler Farah, the sprinter from team Garmin Cervelo. Well, that crash happened right up at the front end of the pack, waiting there for Bradley Wiggins at the side of the road as his teammate. They're pushing off one of the riders from Katusha. Well, the chaos, it can happen any time, any moment. These riders have stopped at the side of the road. They're waiting for Bradley Wiggins. He's checking himself out. He is in the white jersey. The man alongside him there, just having a quick look, that's Boasson Hagen. Also there, Juan Antonio Fletcher. This is a bad moment. They're checking out Bradley Wiggins. He looked so good so far. Race doctor just checking him out. Well, doctor will check him out. He's got 3 teammates up alongside him. And certainly the first thing the doctors always check, and it's the first thing really, there's two big injuries that happen to a bike rider. First of all, it's the collarbone that can get popped when you land on your hands, and it can go over, taking him to the side of the road. The other thing is a small bone in the hand, the scapula. Chris Horner has gone down as well. Well, this is not good for Team Radio Shack, and this will be the tour which has been, oh dear me. Oh dear me, this looks as if this is going to be the end of the Tour de France for Bradley Wiggins. He's in agony there.
Well, the pictures aren't good, Paul, are they? Bradley Wiggins has been taken to the side of the road there. The ambulance has been called up. It looks like the end of the line for Bradley. That is terrible.
Well, it really is terrible, I have to say, Phil, and he's not the only victim of this crash here. And this is Remy Poriol, who's gone down as well. I noticed Chris Horner was in the ditch on the far side, and it was almost at the point, I was just listening to race radio, and they said the riders are now starting to pick up a cross tailwind, an indication the speed is starting to go up. Riders will have felt the same thing. They would have been panicking a fraction, trying to move up to the front, and then bang, it crackled on race radio, shoot, and a lot of big names were caught out in it. It'd be interesting to note who exactly has not missed out. I can see a lot of Leopard Trek riders in that group, the ones with the black and white shirts. I'd be sure that Andy Schleck has got himself in there, but yes, 3 Sky riders waited a long time for Bradley Wiggins, but I think it's his Tour de France over.
So guys, it's over for Bradley again. He's got a broken collarbone, I think. I'm way back behind Eddie, Fletcher, Knees, Rigoberto.
Welcome back to the finish line here at Chateau Roux. News of Bradley Wiggins' accident just seeping through, still very sketchy. What are you getting from the road, Shane Sutton?
Nothing really, just what we've seen on TV. Obviously he's in the ambulance, and I think Dave's going to come out in a minute and have a chat, but at the moment, well, we believe it's a broken collarbone or shoulder. We're not sure. I
mean, you guys, you riders, you kind of know what accidents look like, and you can see the impact. It looked pretty emphatic, didn't it? Pretty clear cut.
Yeah, pretty clear cut to me. It was a collarbone, so.
And after everything that you achieved yesterday as a team and as a unit, just from that high to this low.
Yeah, it's a bitter one to swallow. But, you know, it's bike racing. These things happen and just got to move on.
And what are his movements now, do you know?
No idea, Ned, no idea.
OK, thanks, Shane.
Cheers.
3 kilometres to go now for the sprint for the green jersey points. These boys thought they were about to be caught. They're now free to fly again. They're a minute 40, so they should hang on at least to the sprint point here. So the peloton will only be racing for the 5th place point score today. And I should imagine the green jersey of Philippe Gilbert and arguably the yellow jersey of Hushoff will be tangling horns with Rojas for the points there.
So this is Arrière de la Course at the back end of the road. The reason that all of these riders are here from Team Sky is they stopped at the side of the road when Bradley Wiggins had that accident. They were hoping to try and help pace him back into the field. And these are some of the big guys. Juan Antonio Fletcher is there. Looks like Bozen Hagen is there, the winner of yesterday's stage. Also in this group is Rigoberto Urán. Is Vinokurov, I presume, is in that small group of riders there at about 600 or 700 meters behind the group of the main field. There's not many riders left there. They're looking at 1.5 minutes to try and pull back these leading 4, but this race has completely changed once again with that very dramatic crash for Bradley Wiggins. So these riders here are trying to just survive, hoping to get to the next sprint point. They're 1.5 kilometers to the sprint point for these men and about 2.5 for the main field.
So points up for grabs here. None of these boys feature in the green jersey competition. There's just a prize of around 1,500 euros for the first man over the line. As continually, this is Sylvain Chavanel. He's been in his wars for 2 days, but he's now rejoined the pack. They're a good chase by the French champion.
Courageous chase by the French champion. He's been battling over the last couple of days to stay in contact with the Tour de France. It's one final kilometre now for the 4 leaders. I have to say, Phil, it's a sad thing to say. It's not really important, the position of these guys crossing the line. They probably don't even have any points in the competition at all. But the first man to cross the line from the main field will get themselves 11 points. Mark Cavendish is in 5th place overall. He wants to try and close the gap on the guys in front of him. Gilbert and Rojas separated by a single point, 144 to 143.
And they're going to chase for that very valuable 5th place finish, I'm sure of that. Oh boy, the tactics are out the window now. There is so much chaos going on behind the Tour de France. These 4 boys are better out of it just now, and they're still holding on to a good lead as they're going into the last 25 kilometres. Half a kilometre to the sprint, and then half a kilometre after that they will see those 25 kilometres to go. They're looking over the shoulder, wondering why they weren't caught, because they thought they were about to be, and they've opened up the gap again.
133 at the back is Michael Delage, the man doing the pacemaking. On the front there is Gianni Meersman, the Belgian rider on Team FDJ. In second position, Yannick Talbordon. But there is, when you're in a breakaway like this, Phil, a little bit of a question of pride. You want to be the first man to get across the finishing line at the intermediate time sprint.
Well, here's Michael Delage. He's just valuing the teamwork. In fact, he's going to take it off his teammates.
Well, now it looks to me as if HTC High Road are going to take this quite seriously, because they are all over the front. 1, 2, 3, 4 riders leading out Mark Cavendish in 5th place. Rojas is right on his wheel, coming up the outside in the green jersey. Philippe Gilbert is going to barge and bounce a little bit. He wants to try and get himself onto the wheel of Mark Cavendish. Don't do that too often, Philippe, because these boys are much more experimented sprinters than you might be.
Well, just take a look as the missile warms up for the finish, perhaps, because he knows his arch rival Tyler Farrar is not in this group. He's looking, so he's sprinting on one leg, Mark Cavendish, as he comes up towards the line here. No, sir, it's not Mark, that's why. This is Mark Cavendish. As he comes up towards the line, he takes it. Rojas is there, and he gets, I think he might have claimed the green jersey there, Paul, because I think that Gilbert finished 2 places behind him.
Well, it all now dies down for the sprint, Phil. Yes, there you can see Mark Renshaw, the lead-out man for Cavendish. Cavendish looking at the finish, the line down the middle, straight sprint for him. He's not really trying here, Phil. I don't think he pushed himself too hard, and that's why he came out of the pack on this occasion, to get himself those points. 11 points in the bag, and yes, 2 positions separating Rojas from Gilbert. It's a question of the finish line now, because Rojas has jumped over Gilbert in that standings.
So the 1-point deficit, now the 1-point advantage for Rojas, and he'll look to try and build on that at the finishing line and get his jersey back, which he's loaned to Philippe Gilbert. This is the next group on the road here, so let's just pan there around and see if we can find the face of Tyler Farrar. I don't think Tyler Farrar is there at the moment. It's a big bunch going through. He might be in this group, but if he is, then he's got a chance of rejoining before the finish. Whether he's wasted a lot of energy, he's certainly stiff with his right thigh.
But the problem is, Phil, if you look at this group, they've almost given up here. They're guys who their spirit has been broken because of that crash. And if they don't make the contact in the next 5 or 6 kilometres, then it's all over, bar the shouting. Let's have a quick look here. There's 11 points for Mark Cavendish, 10 points for Rojas. Renshaw separating Rojas from Gilbert. Further down, Frank Schleck getting a couple of points. Not really that important for these guys. And also inside of the top 15, Fabien Cancellara. So the chase and the pressure from the peloton now has brought that gap down to a sensible margin with 22 kilometres to go. It's inside of 1 minute margin.
Well, of course, the very worst of news for Team Sky out there on the road, but nonetheless, British interest is, of course, represented on the run into Châteauroux in the form of Mark Cavendish. Now, have you ever wondered what Mark Renshaw means to the Manxman? Well, look at this interview that he gave me after stage 11 of last year's Tour de France. Seconds before this interview, he just found out that his main lead-out man had been disqualified from the Tour de France. You won't have seen the video yet, but I guess the commissaires have made their decision fair and square. You would like your team to appeal on his behalf of it? Yeah. Without him, how's it going to affect the rest of your tour?
We'll see what we can do to keep him at the minute.
Monosyllabic and guarding his words, Cavendish was trying to control his disappointment, fully aware of what had just been snatched away. The best 1-2 of the modern sprint train.
This is Mark Renshaw, the fastest lead-out man in the business, and there's the missile. He's locked onto his wheel now. This is going to be a formality. Win number 6 for Mark Cavendish. There's nobody the speed of this amazing kid. He has got the victory.
My job is to work for Mark Cavendish, to put him in position to win races. That's what I'm paid to do. I'm lucky that I have a good team around me that puts me in the position to put Mark in the best position.
They're going to try and launch. Grenshaw is on the side of Robbie Hunter. He's hesitated now, and now Mark Cavendish is through on the inside.
He's a good guy, and he always speaks about the team, and he tells the media and the world that the team is also a big part of the victory. So
I know I keep saying it, but I just finish off what kind of 8 other guys set me up for.
He really appreciates the work we put in, and he knows that he wouldn't be able to get the success he does without the teamwork. I've got a lot of confidence in him, just as much as he has in me. He's a killer, he wants to win, and he knows that I'll put him in the right position to do so.
20 kilometres to go for the 4 leaders. We never expected them to still be here, but the race has been in disarray. They've only got 30 seconds now, though, and the front chase group is the Maillot Jaune group. The group of Thor Hushoff and Mark Cavendish is in there. Tyler Farrer, his arch rival in the sprint, is chasing, and he's still over 1¼ minutes behind.
It just depends on whether or not he can find any friends in that group behind with him, Phil, to organise the pacemaking. He has one teammate, but one teammate cannot pull back a flying main field in the final few kilometres of a race like the Tour de France. So the gap between the 4 leaders has now gone inside of 30 seconds, and that's with 20 kilometres to go to the finish. And the rest of the remnants of the main field are still looking at 1 minute and 30 seconds. Levi Leipheimer is in that group. They're saying Geraint Thomas, but we won't know that and get full confirmation of that until we get right down towards the very end.
Just look at these boys now. Danny Pate is doing his best now to keep the speed high here. Philippe Gilbert is there in green. Is green temporarily or not? He's now on the shoulders of Rojas, who's gone ahead of him at the last sprint.
Look now, this is the move I was expecting to come from Leopard Trek. They're getting the echelon because they're getting into the wheat fields that have been completely harvested. And look at the wind buffeting the leaves of those trees as they go inside of 20 to get... In fact, this is the second group on the road. This is the group of Alexander Vinokourov.
Yes, and also of Levi Leipheimer and Ryder Hagedal, other big names who are caught in that group at the moment. Villedieu-sur-Indre, that's where we are right now, and they're doing their best to stay away for as long as they can. Now they're no longer friends.
Well, the organisation has gone now, and once the organisation goes from a breakaway group like this, you'll start to see that everything falls to pieces. So now you can see again it's left up to Pablo Urtasun to try and pull back. This is Gianni Meersman, the Belgian rider on FDJ, but in the background, just look at the bottom of the picture there, you can see the main field moving around left and right. It's down to 20 seconds. That corresponds to 300 metres, and it's probably less than 300 metres as they go up this incline. 15 kilometres to go now for the survivors of the long breakaway, which escaped after 3 kilometres. Looking back now, whenever we pull back like this, it's to give you an idea of what the relationship is between the men in front and the men in back. The men in the back are splitting up to get round the traffic furniture. These little islands down the middle of the roads are dangerous, especially when you're tired and under pressure like this. You have to be concentrated. We're 22 seconds behind the 4 leaders, but we're now 1 minute and 40 seconds back to the main group containing Thomas, containing Leipheimer, containing Ryder Hagedal. But the brave man, the champion of France, 122, despite that bad shoulder, that injury from a crash 2 days ago, has got himself right into this pack. 96, sitting on the front there, Liquigas Cannondale. That's Markej Pateski from Poland on the team Liquigas Cannondale of Ivan Basso. Basso is right there in the middle, number 91.
And they've tried their best for the majority of the day, and they're going to keep on trying until the end. Delage has a little dig now, and the peloton, the breakaway rather, reacts. They're willing to go again. Good on them.
Well, this is really the beginning of the end. This acceleration will maybe give them 1 or 2 seconds more over the pack, but once he gets caught, they'll slow down probably to a speed of 22, 24 miles an hour, and the main field will quickly pull back those seconds that were stretched out.
Well, 10 seconds it is. That's Team Sky here, and they're dragging this race through. They are off the back here. This is the group of Farrer.
That's Geraint Thomas on the front in his white jersey, trying to find that little bit to keep himself as high as he can in the overall standings.
These boys are kicking all the way to the finish today. They're trying, and if at first you don't succeed. 13.2 kilometres to go. The gap is nothing, and this time I think they're saying enough is enough.
I think the gap this time, Phil, is twice nothing, which is 0. But still, Gianni Meersman feels there is that little possibility of an escape. He will not give up. That's a Belgian for you. He wants to fight all the way down to the line.
Well, he's on television around the world, and why not? He's had another go, but those other three have decided that is it here. Bit of a dangerous, sharp right-hand turn, well barriered off as the bunch has to squeeze in a little bit. Looking at the clock, it's 1:41 now, back to the group containing Geraint Thomas and Boysenhagen, who won yesterday. How the race turned around in such a short time. The peloton has got quite big. Some riders did get back, but those who were injured lost a lot of time, and a lot of the Sky boys had to wait for Bradley Wiggins, and it took about 4 minutes before it was decided he couldn't continue, so they lost their position in the peloton. That's really, really sad. It's been a terrible day for Sky today. They're going to have to work really hard to come back from this. Kilometres to go as we look at this roller coaster approach the banner, and then we pull back to 1:41 behind. This is a massive bunch containing the majority of the Sky team who waited for Bradley Wiggins and then were told to resume racing. It includes Geraint Thomas and Boysenhagen, who won yesterday. It also includes the American Leipheimer, who again late on the day has been involved in a crash and will lose more time.
This is control. This is probably one of the best drilled squads in the world. It's HTC Hyro, the team of Mark Cavendish, the team of Matty Goss from Tasmania. Matty Goss riding there just over on the right-hand side, peeping through every now and again. Hidden behind him, away from the wind of this race, is Mark Cavendish, looking and dreaming of win number 17 at stages at the Tour de France.
Here we go now. This will give us the best relationship. At 10 kilometres to go, they are going to get... They're saying 1:42 under the 10-kilometre banner there, and our computer says 1:44. Who will argue over 2 seconds? It really doesn't matter.
There is absolutely no way that group is going to come back to the front of the Tour de France this afternoon, because you've got one of the best teams in the world lashing out the tempo.
The full squad of 9 riders are there now for one reason: to deliver Mark Cavendish to the missile base, which is the main street in Châteauroux.
I'll tell you one thing, watch out for the Radio Shack rider Andreas Kloden, because he has not missed out on the move once again. But what about HTC High Road? 9 riders at the front of the race, all waiting. Mark Cavendish on the left-hand side. If you count the white jerseys going down, the 9th rider is Cavendish.
And the group that's chasing behind is 80 strong, Paul. There's 80 riders in the Tour de France who were somehow involved in that crash, which kept them by the roadside. Team Sky try their best here to keep this race under pressure. Boysenhagen and Geraint Thomas are the big losers in this group at the moment. But I'm so sad to say that the big loser today is Bradley Wiggins, the British champion, who's crashed out with a suspected broken collarbone in a massive pile-up, which has forced 80 riders here to try and catch up with the race.
Yeah, Bradley Wiggins, we watched him early on in the season be very dominant in the Critérium de Dauphiné. What's this on the side of the road? This is Levi Leipheimer, again a mechanical incident. It's a back wheel flat tyre, taking his time to take it out. When Lady Luck leaves you, Phil, she really does do a runner. But HTC High Road now are being challenged by Leopard Trek in the middle. You've got the lines of all of these riders trying to get the organisation going. There's a line of riders from Team Katusha on the right-hand side, and they've got a great new sprinter, a young rider, Galimizianov, and he could create the surprise round the chicane.
Oh my goodness.
Watch out for the traffic furniture. She's splitting it up, putting it back together.
Thank heavens they're seeing what's going on here as they continue to drive this race on now. We're running into the last 4 kilometres of the day. And the gap is 2:14 to the chasers behind now. Now it's Peter Velit's turn at the front. They're slowly but surely using up the soldiers here. The last man is expected to deliver. It is a long 1.6 kilometre finishing straight after a sharp turn into it.
Phil, that last kilometre between 5 kilometres to go and 4 kilometres to go was covered in 60 seconds. That's 60 kilometres an hour, just inside of 40 miles an hour. We haven't even hit the acceleration for the sprint yet.
Well, the crowd now in Châteauroux are watching the arrival of the lead peloton in the Tour de France. They're going to see a second race coming in about 2 minutes and 17 seconds.
Peter Velets has done his job. He's got nothing left in the gas tank now. He swings off, but there are still 6 riders from HTC High Road at the front. Number 6 in the line will be Mark Cavendish. Cavendish's wheel is covered at the back by Alessandro Patacchi. Just behind Patacchi, Jose Joaquim Rojas. But the boys have still got plenty of firepower. Velets hasn't gone to the back, Phil. He did a big turn at the front and he swung in to get behind the wheel of Bernie Eisel. They want the firepower with them for as long as possible. Renshaw is just in front of Cavendish. In front of Renshaw is Goss. And then Bernie Eisel today said, I'm going to do the long one at the front today, boys.
I think we are seeing the perfect lead-out train in operation at the moment. Mark Cavendish is the last man in white in the long straight line. Just in front is the rider from Bathurst in New South Wales. That is Mark Renshaw. Everybody says he's the fastest man and he could win for himself, but he loves to lead out Mark. That's his job. Watch the location of the green jersey of Philippe Gilbert and the yellow jersey of Thor Hushovd. When we finished here in 2008 and Mark Cavendish won, Thor Hushovd was the next best of the riders who are competing in the race today. He finished in 4th.
Bernie Eisel on the front in front of Peter Velets, then right up there as well, still in reserve, hasn't really turned the gas tank on yet, Tony Martin. They're now, Phil, inside of 2 kilometres. There's only 1 corner left. It's a right-hand sweeping bend and then it's 1.5 kilometres straight line down to the finish here in Châteauroux.
Huge effort by Bernie to make sure nobody could move up the peloton there, but he's sold his engine and he's dropped to the back. This is the sweeper. Now they will actually soon see the finishing line if they've got great eyesight. It's a mile in front of them, but once they get under that 1 kilometre to go, it is dead visible in a long straight line. Look at the width of this road.
Look at Tony Martin. This man can win an individual time trial. He's a challenger, possibly for a high finish in the Tour de France. But today, those thoughts are not in his mind. His thoughts are make sure you keep the pace nice and high. We don't want any challenge to come from the other sprinters like Gilbert, like Greipel, like Thor Hushovd in the yellow jersey over to the right-hand side. They're going to keep this pace nice and high. And Phil, as they come inside the final kilometre, they have still got the firepower on this race. 55 seconds for that final kilometre. Andre Greipel is right up there, and wouldn't he like to beat Mark Cavendish, but he's a long way back.
Well, they've got to watch out for this Russian sprinter, Denis Glanizhimov, because he is there. He's in 5th or 6th wheel, and that's the guy flicking his arm. He's a newcomer to the Tour de France. He's a fast finisher now. The yellow jersey of Hushovd is brilliantly placed. He's not pushing it, but he's waiting and watching. And now we're getting down to the final run. We've got 2 riders left before it's Cavendish's turn to go. And everybody, look at them, are scrambling to grab the back wheel of Mark Cavendish.
Romain Feyou has come up through the inside there. He's ducking and diving like a man possessed. Gossi now started the sprint. He swings off. He's now up to Mark Renshaw. Still locked into position. There is Mark Cavendish. He's waiting for the moment to pounce.
Is the launch for the line of the missile as Renshaw has said, OK, it's down to you, Mark. Mark is now having to go for a long sprint, but what's the left of the road? That's Greipel on the left of the road. Cavendish grips his teeth, but Cavendish gets it. Greipel will be in 2nd place. Ali Jet on the right will be in 3rd. Mark Cavendish relives his youth. He won here in 2008 and he's come back and he's won again. And that now is stage win number 17 in history.
Phil, let's have a look at this, because this is textbook. This is from the handbook, absolutely perfect. Matty Goss set him up with 350 metres to go, pulls out. Look at the acceleration of Greipel on the right-hand side. You can just see that's a great move by him. All of a sudden, Cavendish says, thanks, Mark. I'm coming up now to try and get myself in and out of the way there. He must have been surprised by the acceleration of Greipel, his former teammate, now an adversary, but this is the moment. Cavendish has got the afterburners glowing here, throws it to the line, no contest. Alessandro Patacchi's up there looking pretty good. It's second, I don't know, 2nd or 3rd for Greipel and Patacchi, and Feyou right in there in 4th.
Well, let's clear up the order behind Cavendish. It was Alessandro Patacchi who'd taken Cav's wheel ahead of Andre Greipel, who'd gone on his own up the right-hand side. Then Fayou, William Bonnet, Denis Galimzianov, Turusoft and Sebastian Turgot. Those 8 were part of a group of 80 riders who were all given the same time. Both the Schlecks were in there, so was David Miller, Cadel Evans, Alberto Contador, Robert Geesink and Ivan Basso. 3 minutes and 6 seconds later, another group of 80 rolled in, the one created by the big crash. And in there was Geraint Thomas, knowing that in waiting for Bradley Wiggins, he'd lost his white jersey. And there were plenty of other big names in there with him. Ryder Heyerdahl, Edvald Boasson Hagen, Ben Swift, Roman Kreuziger, Levi Leipheimer, Tyler Farrer and Chris Horner. In fact, it's a wonder that Chris Horner made it to the finish. He had to be persuaded to get onto a stretcher for the journey to hospital, completely oblivious to his own condition and unaware of whether or not he'd actually finished the stage. In fact, Brad was the only man from the initial crash who didn't, and in the speed of the run-in, the news hadn't spread through the field to the front, leaving Ned bolting to change gears in the middle of a jubilant live post-race interview to break the news to the stage winner.
Just finally, Mark, the other British star in this race, Bradley Wiggins, has had to abandon today, a broken collarbone, suspected.
No.
Not breaking news to you, did you know that?
I didn't know that, no. Where did he crash? Intermediate sprint?
40k, he crashed and that was it.
Oh.
Your reaction?
Well, I'm gutted for him, really gutted. He's on the baby in the best form of his life, you know. And we could have brought home a sprint, perhaps a sprint jersey and a yellow jersey. He was really on for GC, I tell you. People might doubt him, but I've never seen him on form like this. I'm gutted for him, actually, really gutted for him.
Yeah, it was obviously gutting for the team. It's a lot of fighting all day, a lot of stress, and you know, we were lucky up until now. You know, we'd managed to avoid it all, but unfortunately Brad had that crash and it was just behind me. You know, I just heard it, and we sat up from the front, me, Swifty and Garrow, and loads of groups coming past, and we were just like, oh, where's Brad, where's Brad? And then it finally come on the radio that he had, you know, broke his collarbone or whatever and was out. So really bad day for the team for sure, because I was really looking forward to riding for him in the mountains, because, you know, he's in great shape. He really bounced back from last year after all the stick he got off everyone, and it's been great riding with him this year.
Yeah, I was close when it happened, but made to brake and stop, and then yeah, I turned around and saw him on the floor, and yeah, he held his arm on the collarbone, so yeah, it's broken, and we lost the main man who he was riding for, so let's just hope he's okay. And yeah.
Euphoria yesterday, today the diametral opposite.
Yeah, I mean, it's devastating for the devastating for Bradley more than anything. Devastating for the team, but you know, he turned himself around after last year. He came back. You know, he took quite a lot of stick last year, and I think he silenced all his critics. He came back. He was in great shape. I've never seen him in such good shape. His numbers were fantastic. We were very confident of his ability to climb this year. He's put a lot of work in, and it's just taken away in a split second like that. So it's you know, it's very, very disappointing.
And very odd to switch between commiseration and celebration as Mark Cavendish took to the podium for his second stage win of this year's Tour in the town where he took his first ever in 2008. Now let's see what today's stage has done to the standings. Nothing to the top 5, which is still led by Turusoft, but the Sky trio of Bradley Wiggins, Geraint Thomas and Edvald Boasson Hagen has now been replaced by Jakob Fuglsang and Andy Schleck of Leopard Trek and Tony Martin of HTC. Robert Geesink is up to 10th and takes the white jersey from Thomas as the leading young rider. Jurgen van den Broek is 13th, Ivan Basso 15th and Alberto Contador 24th. All of them moving up thanks to the men who've lost time. Geraint Thomas, 6 seconds off the lead this morning, is now 3 minutes 18. Levi Leipheimer is 4.5 minutes down. And having lost Yannick Brajkovic 2 days ago, Radio Shack might have lost Chris Horner tonight. The one constant in the drama of this ever-changing race is the indestructible Turusoft, who'll be in the yellow jersey for the 6th straight day tomorrow. The green jersey is back on the shoulders of Jose Joaquin Rojas, but Mark Cavendish is up to 3rd in that competition and looking pretty handily placed. Of course, Bradley Wiggins was looking pretty handily placed too for the race overall. until the race itself decided otherwise 39 kilometres from home. Well, I wish we could analyse exactly what went wrong to cause the crash that brought Bradley Wiggins down, but there was tree cover, the helicopters didn't see it, the motorbike cameras didn't see it. All we really saw was the aftermath, Chris, and that spoke for itself.
It did, and it must have happened very, very close to the front because there was a huge number of riders in that crash. He wasn't the only victim by far, but, well, certainly for us, he was the most important one. You could see the desperation in his face. He wanted to get back on the bike, but it just wasn't going to happen.
And, I mean, this was his year, not to rub salt in the wound, but, you know, this was when everything had been set up perfectly for him.
Yeah, the run-in's great. He won the Dauphiné Libéré, the second biggest race in France. They win a stage in the Tour. The team's working really well together. They just literally hadn't put a foot wrong. It's been raining. They've had some really twisty roads, dealt with it all. And then dry road, sunny, 30 Ks to go. It's all over. Absolutely tragic.
And Brad, obviously the focus for us, but there were some other big names in that huge group, and they lost a lot of time.
Yeah, Leipheimer continued to lose time. Chris Horner as well went down, so really bad day for Radio Shack. We're still actually picking through the names. There's so many in the most of the main GC contenders did manage to make that front group. Bradley was today's casualty.
All right, let's try and finish on an upbeat note. Mark Cavendish's 17th win, which is obviously tempered by the news out on the road, and it also, I think, leaves him pretty well placed heading into the mountains for the green jersey competition. What do you reckon?
Well, it does. He's closing in now, 17 points back only. Yes, he's only got 3 more sprinter opportunities on the way to Paris, but having said that, he started to sprint for intermediate points, something he's never done before, and if he carries on like that, this could be his best ever shot at getting that green jersey.
All right, before we go, just time to squeeze in the competition. Here it is. Here's your chance to win a weekend for 2 in Paris to watch the finale of the 2011 Tour de France on the Champs-Élysées. The prize includes travel, 2 nights in a 4-star hotel and £500 spending money. Plus, if you enter any of our 3 competitions during this year's tour, you'll be entered into a second draw to win places for 2, you and a friend, on the Étape du Tour 2012, courtesy of Rafa. We also have an exclusive Rafa special edition Galibier jersey for 10 runners-up. Call 090 4959 6060. Calls cost no more than £1 and 3 pence from BT landlines. Calls from other networks may be higher, and from mobiles will be considerably more. Or you can text Paris to 83366. Text costs £1 plus 1 standard network rate message. Red button viewers can enter by pressing their red button now. You can also enter free at itv.com. Entrance must be 18 or over, and lines close at 4 p.m. on the 11th of July 2011. Entries made after closing time will not be counted but may still be charged. The winner of the Weekend in Paris prize will be drawn and contacted on the 14th of July. Now then, let's take a look ahead to tomorrow. Stage 8 from Aigeron to Superbès takes the Tour into the Massif Central. Nothing overly taxing in the first 120 kilometres. Just a couple of 4th category climbs with the day's intermediate sprint sandwiched between them. It's inside the final 40 kilometres that things get interesting. There's the first category 2 climb of the race, the Col de la Croix-Saint-Robert at 1400 metres. Then the 5th and easily the hardest uphill finish of the race so far to the ski station at Superbès-Sancy. We'll have that live for you from 2 o'clock tomorrow afternoon, and we'll be back with highlights of Stage 8 at 7 in the evening. Now, before we go tonight, the latest news for you on Bradley Wiggins. He's left the hospital. He'll be flying home tonight. And just before he left for the airport, Ned managed to get a word with him.
What happened?
Well, it was a bloody crash, wasn't it? But yeah, I think everyone was just jostling for the front. It was constantly told in the radio that we got to stay in the front, got to stay in the front. There's a risk it could split at any minute. I think everyone was being told that. And when you've got 200 riders, odd riders that are trying to stay in the front, on small roads like that, yeah, it was always going to happen. So it's just one of them things, you know. So
it looked like you knew straight away. I mean, it looked fairly clear from the pictures. Did it feel like that on the ground, so to speak?
Yeah, I couldn't get up off the floor for love nor money. And you know, once I did make it to the side of the road, I kind of kept saying, I just want to get back on the bike, and but it comes a point where, you know, you just can't do it really. So, but I feel top of the world now. I've had some fantastic drugs in there, and I feel fabulous now. So,
at what point does it sink in? What you know, what's happened to you?
Yeah, I mean, that's bike racing, isn't it? You know,
I'm gibbering now, but you know, that's just bike racing. You know, these stages are what it's part of the Tour de France. You're trying to stay in the front, trying to stay out of trouble, and obviously this was the last day before tomorrow, and you know, that's the risk you take as bike riders, and it's unfortunate, but you know, life goes on. It's only bike racing at the end of the day, and I've got fantastic form, and it's only a break, collarbone, so you know, I'll recover from it and be back for the end of the season, I'm sure. So.
Bad luck, Brad.
Yep, cheers guys.
Well, at least Brad's happy until the morphine wears off and it all sinks in, I suppose. And that is it for Stage 7. On any other day, the big news would have been the good news, Mark Cavendish's 17th Tour de France stage win. Today, though, the bad news was bigger.
Game over, innit?